My name is Alexis Espinoza, and this is my reflections on race and America. My diversity philosophy is going to include cultural awareness, inclusion, which means making a community in my classroom, and diversity. My goal as a future educator is to teach my elementary students how our cultures are different and what makes us unique, how our race and beliefs help to define us, and how we should be proud of who we are and be accepting towards one another. Who I chose to interview was my sister. Her name is Caprice, and this interview took place over Zoom. One of the questions that I asked her was, now that you've heard my views on diversity, what strengths do you think I would bring to my role as a teacher? She responded by saying, you would bring a strong sense of creating a community within your classroom by making sure each of your students feels welcomed. You would also not let any of your students talk down on their peers, so a strength you would be bringing is leadership and friendship. The second question I asked her was, knowing me and my personality, how do you think I will deal with future issues or challenges around race and diversity as a teacher? She responded by saying, when it comes to future issues about race and diversity as a teacher, I believe you will handle them well. For one, you have a strong will to do what is right, and you have overcome many personal obstacles that challenged you over the past 5 years. Having your current job with the after-school program has given you challenge as well, especially when the kids don't get along. So the experience you're getting right now will help you later on in life. Right here is my vision board, and I put in the middle, we are a community, because that is one of my ultimate goals. I will be showing my kids the book called What Makes Us Unique. That way they can learn how to appreciate their differences. I also chose a video that says, everyone is different in so many ways. Wouldn't it be boring if we were all the same? Celebrate your culture, your family history, and when we're all together, celebrate diversity. I chose this video because it's a sing-along song that could be portrayed to the kids so they could learn about their differences and to be proud of who they are. Another book I chose is The Skin I'm In, and it talks about how each of us are different and how we need to be comfortable with who we are. I also put teaching is a work of art because as a future educator, I want to be able to be a role model to my students. I also chose a quote that says, in a world where you could be anything, be kind. And I feel like this is important because if we want our kids to get along, we need to show them how to behave, and we need to let them know that kindness could go a long ways. I chose this picture right here of 4 different students. Each has a different skin tone, so they come from a different background. And then I put this right here, this little drawing that says life is better with friends, because when we have more friends, we have more community within our classroom. And then I put this quote right here. It says, it's important very early to talk about race, because if you fail to, they will pick up the worldview of others, and that's not what you want. I feel like this is important because if we want our kids to know about race, we have to talk to them about it. We need to try and teach them to not be biased and to not go off of just what they see, especially in today's society. So some references to class I chose are from our discussions. From discussion 1, we were told to read the article called How Much Racism Do You Face in Your Daily Life? And we were asked to take a quiz on racism that related to the article. And then we responded to our discussion post. When I responded, I wrote, it's unsettling because you don't realize how much someone hears rude comments, racist jokes, or deals with discrimination on a daily basis. And for me, I feel like this was important because we don't really know what each person goes through on a daily basis. We don't know what it's like to be in their shoes. We only assume that we know what they go through. From discussion 3, I chose the TED Talk by Thurston when he talks about what it means to level up. And for that one, I had responded by saying it means that we need to take a stand if we want to see change when it comes to racism. And in doing so, it starts with ourselves. We are the change we need. I feel like this is important because if we want to make a change, especially within our classrooms, we need to be the change. We need to make a sense of community. And we need to let every student know that they belong. The third reference I'm making is the So You Want to Talk About Race by Uluo, when she covers her personal experiences about dealing with racism and how people are biased and opinionated when it comes to people from a different race than them. And throughout her book, she makes references about how she was treated, how people assume they know how she's being treated, and how they point out her differences. So for me, I believe that it's important that we teach our kids not to just judge someone based off of how they look, the color of their hair, their skin tone, where they come from. It's important to know what comes from the inside that counts. A reflection that I have is that what I learned from this course was a deeper understanding of racism and how I can better prepare myself to teaching my future students about diversity. I want to ensure that my students are prepared when it comes to talking about race, and in order to prepare them, I plan to introduce them to the topic by using my diversity philosophy and using my vision board to portray it to grades K through 6 in hopes that they take away an understanding. I want them to feel comfortable talking about race and how each one of them are different, and after watching multiple TED Talks and our readings assigned, I believe that I will be able to reach my goal with my future students. My hopes are that as a future educator, my students will all belong. They won't ever feel uncomfortable or feel like they are being left out just because they're different. I want them to embrace their differences so they know that each of them are unique and each of them brings something different to our classroom. And in order to do that, I want to make sure we have our community. I want us to take time to get to know one another. And I feel like it's important, especially in today's society.